Hello and welcome to Full Tilt Throwback. I'm your host, Big Kris. Joining me today is Nico Narciso. How you doing, Nico? Ciao,
I'm
bello.
good, Kris.
All right.
Ciao, Kris. Ciao.
Yeah.
Tutto bene, grazie. A posto.
Oh,
I'm good, man.
I only know a
Very
little
good.
bit. I only know a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I went too far. No, I'm good, man. It's good to see you. It was a pleasure. I was happy that you got this idea of recording a podcast to you know keep up with Full Tilt and talk to the people that have made the Full Tilt past just
yeah,
right before the pandemic. So yeah,
yeah,
I'm happy to be part of it, and I'm happy to see you and talk to you again.
yeah.
I hope everybody who's listening is having a great time and looking forward to wrestling to return to our lives. It's been a while. I've hated it, and hopefully it's going to come back soon.
So I mean, what's it been like in Italy during the lockdown? Because obviously in this country, we haven't really seen like much of like it's only really been like America or something or like the EU as a whole. But like, what's it been like in Italy? Is it?
I mean, the first lockdown was kind of unbelievable. Like I wouldn't have guessed that something like that could actually happen.
Mm,
The first 2 months, I mean, between March and the beginning of May of 2000 of last year of 2020, they were really, really harsh on shutting everything down. The news was all full blown with police controlling shops that were closed, people that were going around with no reason. The fines were super high. I just spoke like I think it was during the pandemic. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was during the first wave. It was during the lockdown with people from the UK, Italian people living in the UK, and they would go, man, like here the fee, the fine is like £60
mm,
or something like that. People go around. There are like abusive pubs and restaurants keeping it open.
mm,
It was completely different in Italy. People were scared. There was actually like a dynamic of blame also towards the people who were going out, even runners. There was
mm,
like this thing going on with the runners, with people that would go jogging, and like they were blaming them for infecting the others, for spreading the infection. It
yeah,
was like it was insane.
yeah,
And from then on, I mean, after summer, there were still restrictions and
mm,
shops were closed for a while as well. But the pressure on the people to remain at their houses, to avoid contact with the others, was never as high. The
mm,
March, April, and the beginning of May 2020 were the really harsh time. They were really tough on shutting everything down, and this was exactly what we lived.
mm,
I know that it was not the case in England.
mm,
It was completely different, and it was as well in the United States. I talked to people in the United States too that they would say, "Oh, you can go hike, you can go
mm,
swim, you can
mm.
go for a run, you can go fucking ride a car around." It was nothing like the same in Italy, man.
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a harsh experience,
yeah,
and hopefully never gonna come back.
yeah.
That's all I can say.
Well, we're getting through it, and it's nearly ended, and then let's talk about some good stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
we're going to talk a little bit of before we get into like your time in FTW. I want to just talk a little bit about how you actually got started in wrestling. So, well, actually, I want to go before that. I want to know like what was the first like wrestling that you ever seen?
Okay, yeah, yeah. I always tell the story. It's not. There's nothing particular, but I remember I was like 4 years old, five probably at most. It was one of my very first memories of my life.
Hmm.
The channels were on. Sorry, TV was on, and it was like randomly zapping, I think, or my mom was, because I was so little. And she hops up on Eurosport at some point. And on Eurosport, there was this pro wrestling tag team match. I
Hmm.
have no idea who the wrestlers were. I have no idea who the promotion was. I just remember it was a tag team match, 2-on-2, because they were tagging and people were changing, and there was like tag team moves, etc. I just flipped. I
Hmm.
got struck. It was it was really a moment that you could never forget, and I will never forget it
Hmm.
because yeah, it's part is let's say that the first experience, the first visual experience of something that I love, that I've dedicated part of my life to. So yeah, that's the first wrestling I've ever saw. Then of course, all the other majors, WCW, because I was a kid in the early '90s, in the '90s, in the late '90s. So that was WWE, SmackDown in particular, between 2003 and 2005, 2006. They were really popular in Italy. There was this big boom in those years, in the early 2000s, that brought wrestling to mainstream attention. And I was cool, to go around with John Cena backpack or Rey Mysterio, of whatever sort.
Yeah.
Then, in 2007, after the Kris Benoit tragedy, let's say the public opinion in Italy decided that it was time to take wrestling away from mainstream TV, and that's exactly what happened. And but I kept following, I kept watching. Just 2 years later, I was in Canada and for a while, and I went to every single show of the independent promotion there in Vancouver, ECCW. So yeah, the passion stayed on me. And I stayed with wrestling as, an art form and something I enjoyed and appreciated. Then I started training Bologna wrestling team when I was 23, so it was 2014. 9 months later, I debuted, and the rest is the history of my career so far.
So when you started, obviously you just said like wrestling sort of died off. It wasn't as popular. Was actual like promotions and things like that in Italy when you first started?
There were. Italy's made up until, of course, 2020. Has made very long steps, very meaningful steps into his wrestling scene from when he started on. There was no much knowledge brought to Italian wrestling before a certain period of time. There were not many promotions, but a few of them were already around. I'd say the longest running is Italian Championship Wrestling, ICW, which I wrestled in a few times. Then Bologna Wrestling Team has already started, and we started basically being the resident talent of Wrestling Megastars, where Wrestling Megastars was open, and they were hosting Bob Van Dam, Mr. Anderson, who I wrestled, and other big names and big talents. And that's exactly what was missing before.
Yeah.
This kind of steps were made, because nobody of the independent talents of the young kids, just such as myself, could have said to have such an experience, to wrestle, I don't know, names like Mr. Anderson or the others I mentioned. Work with Chris Masters. I did 2 seminars with him, and while I didn't have a helper, we worked together. So these are very, very meaningful and important experience to a young guy approaching wrestling in order to understand what the business is about and how you can go further with your career.
Yeah.
So wrestling has improved, has gotten bigger. Has not boomed by any means, but the independent wrestling scene is much more valuable now than it was back when it started.
Well, I've seen a few things from, I think it's Italy. I think it's SIW or something like that. I'm not
S or F?
S.
F like snake.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. They're another school. They're on the opposite side of Italy. Let's say we're east. We're like up center northeast of Italy. Bologna is, and on the other side in Tuscany, on the west coast, SIW is based, and I think they have other schools also, other like training places. I wrestled a few guys from there. Some of them are friends.
I've definitely heard of the Italian scene, and like I say, I think most of the guys that I've seen there have been like very, very like a good standard of wrestler. Even though like it is sort of like indie wrestling, I would say most of the guys that I've seen are like what you would call like a proper wrestler, like good bodies and that, all got like good gimmicks and things like that. So I mean, I haven't really seen much European wrestling. I've seen a little bit from Germany, a little bit from France, and a little bit from Russia. I don't know if they're in Europe, but I think they are. But
they're not European Union by any means, especially now. But lately, it's not going really well.
yeah,
But yeah, there's geographically speaking, yeah, they are Europe. Yeah, definitely, I would consider them Europe. I have a few people following me from Russia, few wrestlers. But the trainer Red Scorpion was there once too. Just before the pandemic happened, in February 2020, he wrestled another masked wrestler called Sullivan Surge. It looks like they have a good scene. They have a good hardcore fan base, and they run a lot of shows there. But of course, Kris, it's nothing compared to England. England before the pandemic was the place to be, just because there's just so much tradition, so much knowledge, good talent that gets trained well and constantly, and they can perform to a standard that we're just wishing right now in Italy. I think just few wrestlers were able to make it without getting their knowledge in Italy. My trainer is definitely one, Red Scorpion, who's set a standard in Italy too. There are a few other wrestlers, but if you start working in England, if you start training in England, in the whole UK. It's just a completely different story. You get many more opportunities to work, many different opponents, styles, and you get to understand the business better, in a better way, ultimately. So, that's the best place to be in Europe, definitely. And that's geographically, too, because I know that UK is the fuck out of Europe right now. Brexit, goodbye, guys.
We've talked a little bit about your start in wrestling, but I want to talk about your very first training session. All right, so I've done a couple of podcasts now, and the first thing I really want to know, like, from all wrestlers, is like, how did they feel, like, the first time they actually turned up to training? Did you have did you work in the ring, or were you on mats, or what was your first day like?
My first day was on mats. It was on mats. I think we have a crush mat too. So I think I tried a body slam, and I also took a body slam. The school was just starting, basically. There were really, really small amount of people. There was just a few resident wrestlers, just a couple of them that already debuted and already did shows in front of paying crowds. And then there was my trainer, of course, who opened the school and already got experience, and he wrestled outside of Italy already, and all that stuff. But compared to where Bologna Wrestling Team is now, there was nothing, because I didn't assume that just like seeing, I don't know, 16 feet square mats. I don't know how large the area was, but it was pretty narrow. It was not any big. I didn't assume it was not on the level, because I saw that the school was way behind, and I couldn't be more right, because then Red Scorpion turned out to be one of the best wrestlers in Europe, and he trained guys such as myself, such as Pipi Dozer, Leon, who did also experience outside. So yeah, the school, the training itself was very good. I was from the first session, but also the sessions following, I was really convinced that even though we were just on mats and we were running around to heat up, to warm up, the school was good, and I was satisfied with the quality. But in terms of actually what we were doing, we were really learning basics, sets, ups, bumps, rolls, just like starting working also in a small space, which helped me a lot, I think, also ring positioning, etc. And then as the years went on, Bologna Wrestling Team got bigger, we got better as wrestlers, we had the ring set up, and then we started training in the ring. But yeah, I have actually a good memory of my first session and all the sessions following up until the debut. After I debuted, since I was going around Europe very early in my career, that's when the hard time came, man. Like
Hmm.
the 2 years of training after I debuted were really the harshest times because training was harder and
Yeah.
I was on a much bigger pressure.
Yeah. So when you had your first match, like after it, because obviously when you have your first match, you're just buzzing to like finish the match and get back. Um, how did you actually feel about it? Because like when I finish my matches, I'm very very critical of myself. Sometimes I'm like overcritical. Um, so I mean, like, what did you feel? Did you feel like, yes, this is like I'm meant to be doing this. I'm meant to be a wrestler, or did you have any doubts in your mind, or things like that?
Uh, I don't want to sound, I don't know, presumptuous or anything, but if that was not going to be a match that told me that I could have become a wrestler, I'd have no idea what a better experience could be
Hmm.
because it was great. I mean, the match is still online, by the way. My first match is still online on my YouTube channel.
Hmm.
People can see it, and of course, I was way behind the level that I've been in the later years. I was not a wrestler by any means. I was woody. I was shaking before going into the ring, and
Hmm.
all my performance was clearly of a debuting guy. I mean, and there was nothing to hide about it. But the crowd reaction was great.
Hmm.
Uh, it felt real. It felt like I was controlling the thing. It felt like I was doing well, it felt to me and to the people that I was doing a good entertainment.
Hmm.
I got complimented by everybody, and also the particular thing was that I wrestled a guy that was outside of the wrestling school.
Hmm.
So this guy, who's called Mambo Italiano, by the way, he just had a match in NXT last September. So he's went on to have to do very good for himself. By the
Yeah.
way, he was wrestling in the Bologna wrestling team shows because he came from actually from near my hometown, and I just got to know him. I think a couple of months before. Then at the show where I was supposed to debut, just 2 days before, they tell me, "Hey, you're going to wrestle." He was called Andrew Wiston back then. You're going to wrestle Wiston, and I said, like, I've never trained with him. I've never practiced anything. I've never locked up with him. I don't know how he moves. I don't know how he does.
Hmm.
Like, how am I going to be able to do it? I I heard stories in the past about people rehearsing their matches, their debut matches or their very first matches for weeks or
Hmm.
sometimes, and I just had to like I know 3 hours to plan it, and then go in the ring and do it as a very first shot in my career, and it went great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, what better experience could I ask for? After that, was the I was really the happiest
Hmm.
that I could have expected myself to be after the match. So I said, "Yeah, let's go for it. This is I can get something
Hmm.
out of what I'm doing." And I still think to this day, by the way, and then I'm going to conclude the answer. I still think to this day that if it didn't go so well, if that match didn't go so well,
Hmm.
I would have never had, I wouldn't have never done good as I did so far.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
match was something that told me, yeah, got potential. You can do it, and it gave me, motivation
Hmm.
to go further. And yeah, so it was a plus. How can I say it?
Yeah. So I want to move on a bit now. Because obviously, um, most wrestlers in this country, after about 2 years, they might be lucky to get outside of like the area. So like obviously, in the northeast, after about 2 years, you might be lucky to get like a booking out of there. But you were like wrestling around Europe after like 2 years, and I mean that to me is a bit crazy. Because
Oh, less than that. I wrestled in England for the first time after 5 months.
mhm. So
Just
I mean
five
like
months after my first match. So
so
yeah, it was.
so when you go to these obviously anywhere that's not Italy, did you speak English or did you speak like another foreign language before you went to these countries, or have you learned since you started doing this?
I've learned English when I was 17, 18. I went to Canada for a while, went to Vancouver. So yeah, to study, to do high school there, to do a year of high school there. So yeah, I already used English in the past. Of course, it was high school English. So what do you do in high school? You learn some subjects on a very basic level, and then you go around with your friends and do the stuff that adolescents do. So it was not like a business English or English to help you work. But then again, I kept it up, and I think I never lost it. Even though now it's much better than it was before. And I don't know if I move, for example, if I spend 1 month in England, let's say, or in Australia or in Canada, my English goes way better just by going there. Now I don't have a level that I always keep 100%. But that was never an issue. There was never a border between me and wrestling success. Actually, I think that speaking English has helped me a lot, because the first bookings that I got in England, which were in London, I went to the training school and the promoter was there. Just by case, I think. I think it just came to the training session to watch the kids, and he knew that I was from the outside, from Italy, and that I was super green. I mean, I was 5 months into my career. I had 6 matches before that. But he liked my face, and he was interested in trying, a rookie that looked fresh and looked green to put it on the shows, and had a shot in front of hundreds of people, just like very, very, very quickly into my career. He booked me for like the week after. I mean, in 1 week, I was going to debut in England and do this kind of stuff. So yeah, no, English was, languages were never a barrier, and I think English is mandatory now if you want to be a wrestler. I think it always was, actually. It's always been. Probably like if you come from Japan and you're called Jushin Thunder Liger, or I don't know, some other legend name, the Great Muda. I don't know if the Great Muda spoke English, but anyways, if you're that good, you can let yourself go with speaking English. But all in other cases, you need a language in order for communication to happen, and for yourself also to be a complete performer, because you need promos, you need theatrical skills, you need to use your voice, you need to use your mind to get through the story and that you want to tell to the crowd watching. So yeah, I mean, it's mandatory, it's required now if you want to be a wrestler.
See, I'm a bit. Well, I don't want to say stupid, but I feel, especially when it comes to like wanting to actually go to different places, I'm like, although if I go there and I can't speak, then I'm not going to do anything. Do you know? Like if I can't speak the language.
Just come over to Italy. I'll show you around, and then in 2 months you'll be speaking Italian. Perfect. I have a philosophy degree, so Italian is great. No, just kidding. I know what you mean, of course, and that's what I feel sometimes when I go to Spanish-speaking countries, because I want to speak Spanish. I know that I'm good enough to speak another language, and Spanish is much closer to Italian than English is. So, so I know that I actually should try and speak Spanish, and when words and tenses of verbs don't come out, I get frustrated and I get angry. I know how it's thinking. But yeah, that's. If we say, and I'm totally convinced about it, that the human beings are all equal and they're all on the same level starting up, you can do it. There's nothing like other humans speak that language. Other humans have those kind of communications of these types of communication happening. So you can overcome that kind of limit if that's what your desire, and if traveling is something that really motivates you into going around. At least that's my case for sure. I've never said no. I went to Hong Kong just before 2020, just like at the end of 2019, and I never said to myself like I'm going to feel dizzy and lost around because of the language. I think it's not easy, but it's doable to overcome if you
Yeah.
really want it.
Well, I've said this about you before. You've got balls because like for like how old you were to like just be going out traveling. Like for me, see, when I was like in my 20s, which was only like 2 years ago, but when I was in my 20s and that, I was playing hockey and I was traveling around just around Britain, and for me that was like an eye opening experience because I'd never ever seen, even though I lived in the country, I'd never ever seen any part of the country except maybe like a caravan park or somewhere. I hadn't actually seen the country in that. So to just like go like, right, I want to start wrestling, and then you get this chance to like just travel about. For me, I just think that's excellent. Like it was something I would love to do. Love to do.
Yeah, and I was, let's say, I was a correspondent towards your experience because, like, the country that I've traveled the most in for wrestling was definitely England. I wrestled in 12 cities. I've seen around, I think, 20 or 25 of them because of wrestling, because moving around, etc. Yeah, that's a part of traveling though, that came with wrestling, and it's not been all the traveling I've done because I've traveled for vacations a lot. I was always interested in seeing, like, let's say, architecture and history. I've studied this stuff in the past, so sometimes I was moved by that too. And yeah, there was definitely a part of traveling that needed as much effort in order to make it happen than what wrestling did thereafter. And wrestling actually the traveling part is like how do you say in English? It's complementary to wrestling. You don't want to you don't want to stay around in Italy. Like my desire, even if I have to wrestle in front of 30 or 50 people, I wanted to do it in another city, in some places I've never seen, because that's part of what you do. That's part. There's different people around that are potentially interested in what you do, and if there's people that have never seen me, if there's a place I've never seen, a venue that I've never wrestled in, why would I want to entertain the same people where 2,000 kilometers away from where I am, there's people who are going to buy the ticket to see me, and that's exactly what drives me in wanting to travel so much for wrestling, because traveling is part of wrestling itself.
Yeah. So I want to move on now, and I want to talk about your time in FTW. So I think you've only done about 6 or 7 shows for us. Is that right?
Let me check back. I think 5. Yeah.
5.
February, May, July, October, November. Yes, and then I've done the match with Richard. The night after my last match at the Anarchy Brewery.
Yeah.
And then I wrestled also at one of the before one other of your junior shows.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, in February 2019. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wrestled. So yeah, it was. I mean, in terms of matches, it's more than 5, but 5 FTW shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
5.
So I mean, out of the 5 matches, I would say like I enjoyed like all the matches. Like for me, like running the FTW shows, whenever we got someone new in, so either like someone from not from FTW, it's always like it's always an exciting prospect of like seeing someone different. And I think with you it was more like I think you were the actual first like foreign wrestler to actually wrestle in FTW. So like we've had like we had a guy who was Japanese, but he was actually from this country, even though he was Japanese. We haven't actually had like someone from a different country. So for me, it was like I was like FTW is getting like big now. We're going like we're going like international.
wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, what would you say would be like your favorite match that you've had in FTW?
Let me think. Probably the second last. It was was it a gauntlet? Yeah, it was a gauntlet match. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was a gauntlet match.
Yeah, for a shot at the championship.
Exactly. The second last. I remember that Elliot Jordan was in it too,
Mm-hmm.
and a great guy to work with. Absolutely, love the guy.
Well, I've actually been working on a picture that I'll send you later, and it's actually a picture of you and him. So I've been working
Really?
on that today. So I'll send you that later.
Okay, interesting.
It's from a match.
I've never watched that match, by the way. I wish. Do you have it? Do you have it on file?
I'm not very good with technology.
That's not an answer to my question. But anyway, it's all right. We'll talk about.
I've smashed like 3 computers just doing this.
To answer your question, there was no match that I actually said, yeah, that was a stinker. Yeah, I didn't like it. There were better matches. The best one I already mentioned. I think there were matches that were probably a little bit lower quality, but there was no match that I actually got out of the ring and I said, no, I didn't like working this guy or I didn't like doing this. Even though like stuff in the ring doesn't always go the way you want, the atmosphere that there was around FTW is always what involved in the most. And I was always every time I came to FTW, I was, man, I'm actually in this place. I'm actually living the dream. And the quality that FTW brought to Northeast Wrestling in the last year of activity of 2020, 2019, before the pandemic happened, was really something that involved me emotionally because I said, now I'm part of something that is in another country first. It's first country in Europe in terms of wrestling, and that is actually bringing people to shows and drawing attention and growing bigger. So FTW is, I would say, definitely my favorite company to work in outside of Italy, outside of the wrestling team. Of course, you guys have always been nothing but nice to me. You've given me so many opportunities, training other people. The match with Richard has got so much attention and exposure too. I'm really looking forward for it to return. And wrestling in the ring doesn't always go the way you want. It's not always the best. It's not always the best for the guys that are in WWE. I am 100% sure that for every single show that WWE puts on, there's at least one wrestler who comes back to backstage, who goes backstage and says, that was a stinker. I didn't like it. I hate myself. I think I'm a terrible wrestler. But it's actually it's actually like part of the deal. You said you were overcritic, right? Sometimes that's what happened to me as well. Lately I've been having an interview, a podcast, just like I'm having with you right now, with Connor from The Ascension. You know him from WWE?
Yeah.
I was interviewed with him. We were paired up in an interview from another podcast. And one piece of advice that he gave me, he said, enjoy the moment. Live the moment that you are in. Because, back then, especially in FTW, I was able to do that. I never came back to Italy with a bad taste in my mouth or anything. I was actually enjoying and experiencing the time of my life whenever I came in. So, I hope that resumes up pretty quickly after this shit is over, man, and we can get back to wrestling and do what we love.
Yeah, definitely. So the next part, now this is where you get full control of FTW. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that you've got the book, you've got the pencil, all right? what if Nico was in control of FTW? What would you do? So you can pick, it can be yourself, it can be another wrestler, it can be you've got the power. So tell me what you would do.
Okay, so first off, I still have a title shot for the FTW Championship since I won the FTW Superstar of the Year 2020 on a Facebook tournament. So I'll go for it, definitely, 100%. And that's all I would do with myself. I just have to try that, try myself on that level for the main championship of FTW, and then see how it goes from there. It doesn't have W or L be necessarily. I don't. I can't say it now, but I want to have that.
So
other than that,
so who would the championship match be against?
I don't know. That's a very good question. If it has to be,
you can pick anybody. It could even be John Cena if you want to do.
It's not realistic. I wanted to make it realistic. One guy that I would really love to wrestle for the FTW Championship will be Chuck, who I partnered with in February 2019, my first match in FTW, and I really enjoyed working with him. He has very good mind for wrestling. He's skilled in thinking what works for each crowd that you have in front of yourself. So yeah, I think having like a mainstream big cartel match against him for the FTW Championship would be great. And I think that I would try, other than, of course, than that single match with myself and another wrestler who I chose Chuck for.
So Nico, are you winning the match?
Am I winning that match?
Yeah, you've got the power, so come on.
Of course I am. Of course I am. And then I'm bringing the FTW Championship all over Europe and defend it around the continental Europe for you. Am I not?
We'll see. I've done a podcast with my brother, and we got talking about this, and I said, I was like, whenever I meet people in wrestling, I goes, my measuring stick is I ask them what they would do if they had full control. And people that say they want to be the champion, I don't have nothing to do with them. That's very selfish. All right, well, Nico, it was nice speaking to you. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you soon.
Take care.